Welcome back to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. They say what goes around always comes round. Today, Land CS Alice Wahome came face to face with this saying that what goes around always comes round. Apparently, Alice Wahome was detained by goons in one of the parcels of lands in Lower Kabete, Gigiri, where Alice Wahome had gone there to help one of the owners of this land because this land has been in contention by two people. So Alice says that according to the documents that are in her office, she is in possession of documents that show that this land belongs to one businessman, Ashok Shah. I want you to listen to Alice Wahome as she came face to face with goons in the presence of senior police officers, including the Department of the DCI.
Watu ngapi hapo? Wengi sana. They almost, when I did this story about 3 weeks ago, they were almost 30, 40 something. And now?
Waziri, are you feeling threatened?
I
mean,
yeah, be safe.
I think I will leave that to the police to say, but I'm not normally easily threatened or scared. My nature is that I'm a courageous person, but I don't like the fact that goons, when I'm in the company of the DCC of this area, when I'm in the company of OCPD, Office of DCI, that goons will lock a gate that we accessed to come here. That tells you the owner will not be able to access this place. His fears are valid, and indeed he has persistently, he has actually pestered me to come and help him take over. I want to say that now I understand the challenge that he's been facing. We are not going to tolerate impunity because whatever is happening here is pure impunity.
It's very interesting that Alice Wahome now understands that there are some acts that can be termed as punitive, that impunity. And one would ask, what is the real definition of impunity? If you look at Twitter today, after this incident, Alice Wahome is actually trending at number 2. The first one is Western Hotel, because Western Hotel also involves this discussion on land, because William Ruto had said that they want to repossess all public land, and people are challenging him to start with Western because Western, according to people, has also been in contention. But now, just a few years ago, Kimani Chungwa and some other Kenya Kwanza lawmakers, especially from Central Province and to be very precise in Kiambu, decided to lead goons in Uhuru's Northland farm. They burnt it, they stole some exotic sheep there, they cut down trees. And Alice Wahome and part of this Kenya Kwanza team from Central did not have any sympathy to Uhuru Kenyatta. And they said that this was happening because Uhuru was the one sponsoring Azimio demonstration that when people went to the street to seek for electoral justice and, of course, economic justice. When you look at Alice, at least she was in the presence of the police officers. When goons invaded Uhuru's farm, there were no police officers. So when Alice Wahome went into that farm, the goons, about 30 or so who were there, sneaked into the gate that they had used when they were coming in, and they locked Alice Wahome and the entire contingent of the police inside. And she's trembling. If you can see, that news reporter was asking her whether she was courageous or she felt scared. And of course, she was trying to put a brave face. This is what I'm saying, that what goes around always comes around. She came face to face with the goons. At least she didn't meet them with weapons, crude weapons that we were witnessed in Uhuru's farm. And this only tells you that what is good for the goose is good for the gander. But Alice Wahome has an enormous task ahead of her. And I want to explain to you what Alice Wahome must do, because if she's not careful in this docket, this is a poisoned chalice. There was a report that was released, and I want you to see this report about land. Then you will understand what I mean. It was indicated puzzle of secret change of land ownership titles at Ardhi House. Ardhi House is the headquarters of the Ministry of Lands. Now you can imagine that there are people, staff, who are being paid by taxpayers' money, people who we trust to be in charge of our title deeds, changing the ownership of title deeds at the very headquarters. So you are, located somewhere in Mombasa or Lokishogio or somewhere in Homa Bay or Gatundu, and then your title deed is being changed, and I think this is going to the highest bidder. And this tells you that even in this ministry itself, things are bad. And Alice Wahome must act with a lot of courage. And she must be smart to bring sanity and clean this docket, because it is dirty. The businessman Ashok, who was being assisted by Alice, that is the owner, is a man of questionable character. I want you to see what Robert Alai is saying. Alai is saying that, hello Wahome, honorable, never trust one man called Ashok Shah, land crook. He has tried to grab playgrounds in Dagoretti North, but when he comes back here, we will chase him thoroughly. So Robert is advising Alai to Alice Wahome to be careful about this businessman who claims this land ownership. Yeah, there is another person here, the People's Watchman. This is Boniface Mwangi, the activist who has also been involved in trying to fight for the rights of people who are battling land issues in Nairobi. So Boniface Mwangi is questioning Alice Wahome, and this is what she was saying. CS Wahome helping tycoon Ashok Shah gain possession of contentious land. Ashok is a wheeler dealer who in the past has been charged with extortion and issuing death threats. The intrigues behind this particular land are likely going to end with murders. So Robert Alai and Boniface Mwangi are trying to caution our able minister there, Land CS Alice Wahome, to be cautious, because according to Alice, the documents in her office show that this land belongs to Ashok. But it seems there are people who don't believe Ashok. And that's why I'm saying that Alice Wahome should be very careful if she needs to bring cleanliness, order, and sanity in this document. And number one, she has to stay away from dirty politics like revenge mission that some of the central Kenya lawmakers were involved in when they took casually when Goons invaded Uhuru's Northland farm. Now she realizes that it was impunity because they've invaded Ashok Shah's land. She also has to deal with corruption, because if there is a ministry that is full of cartels where murders have been conducted, it is the lands ministry. And when you read titles like staff changing title deeds in Ardhi House, then we have no hope. So she must deal with impunity, and she must decide that she's not going to spare anyone, no matter your political standing, your stature in the community, your influence. Otherwise, she is not going to do anything. People are asking about some pieces of land like Ruai, I don't know, Northland, and I know they are targeting William Ruto because the lands are in question. Number two, Alice Wahome must deal with reforms. in this land issue, she must not be speaking too much. She must try to bring forth reforms that will help, so that we, because I know her predecessor had digitalized the lands documents so that you can, by a click of a button, you can check maybe your status, but things are still not working. So there must be, proper reforms. She must look at areas of weaknesses and see what should be done. Because if she's not careful, she's going to ruin it further. It is like people are going to fall from a hot pan into the fire. And number three, Alice Wahome must force the government to open land reforms like the Ndungu reform and some of these historic injustices involving land. If we still continue to sit on it, we are doomed. I have always said anytime I do an analysis, I do analysis on land, I always emphasize on opening land reforms so that we make it clear, we talk about it, we see the impunity and the injustices, then people will, move on. But for today, Alice realized that when goons invade a private property, it is impunity. How I wish that she realizes that it doesn't matter whose land it is, if it is Uhuru's, Alice Wahome's, an ordinary farmer. Once people decide to invade a land, then it is impunity. They had set a precedent, and people now feel that anytime you have some controversy concerning land, then you simply buy goons and they sit on it, they threaten people and all this. As for the businessman, it is not for me to say. Let Alice Wahome investigate further and see whether Ashok is the real owner, and see whether he's full of threats, whether he has been also charged by a court of justice of extortion, so that we can look into this matter. Because the watchman there, Boniface Mwangi, is saying that this particular one will end in bloodshed and murders, and we don't want things like that, because if there is an issue that has brought a lot of deaths, it is land. And as I end, ladies and gentlemen, what goes around comes around.